In the Monster Hunter series there has always been a best way to play each weapon, take the longsword for example, and Monster Hunter Wilds is no different. Back in Monster Hunter World, the most efficient way to use this weapon was by reaching red gauge as fast as possible using Foresight Slash followed by Spirit Drown Slash, then performing the highest damage move in the kit, the Spirit Helm Breaker. After that you would go back to red gauge and repeat the loop. But in Wilds things have changed. The devs introduced new attacks, tweaked existing ones by adjusting their motion values and animation timings, and even added new cancels and animation skips. Because of all this, the most efficient way to play the longsword has changed drastically. Hello hunters, welcome back to my channel, my name is Peppo and today we dive into the intricacies of longsword in Monster Hunter Wilds. This video is sponsored by War Thunder, more about this game in a few minutes. Stick with me until the end because there are a lot of interesting points to cover. At the time of making this video there are quite a few solid options available for the longsword, and even among speedrunners we can see different playstyles. It's not just about pure efficiency, some approaches are safer, some are harder to pull off, and others are very situational. When it comes to certain simpler attacks though, the comparison is pretty straightforward, and it's easy to tell which one is better. Take Spirit Blade Second for example. This attack has a motion value of 30. Now let's compare it to Spirit Blade Second performed while moving forward. It has a motion value of 26 plus 14, which adds up to 40. To figure out which of the two is stronger, we need to look at how long the animation lasts and do a simple division. Motion value divided by the attack's duration. This gives us the so-called damage per second, DPS, or more precisely in this case, motion value per second. Spirit Blade Second lasts 0.78 seconds, while the forward version lasts 1.18 seconds. If we divide their motion values by their durations, we can clearly see that the on-the-spot version of Spirit Blade Second has the better MVPS. We could run this kind of comparison for any move, but it's not always that simple. There are other factors to consider. Some attacks require red gauge to execute, others consume spirit gauge levels, some use up more or less sharpness, and a few have different elemental or status multipliers, and so on. Before we dive into the main topic, a quick word about today's sponsor. War Thunder is the most complete vehicle combat game out there, and it's free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox and mobile devices. You can take charge of over 2500 tanks, planes, helicopters and ships from 10 nations, from 1920s biplanes and armored cars to modern jets and battle tanks. The vehicles are built down to each component. Engines, fuel tanks, weapons and crew can all take damage, and in X-ray view you see exactly where shells penetrate and what gets disabled. That X-ray destruction view is honestly one of my favorite features. It's super satisfying to see exactly how you took out an enemy vehicle. There's an all-new mobile version on iOS and Android with intuitive controls, impressive graphics and the same massive multiplayer warfare in dynamic ground and sea battles with air support. Customize every ride with camouflages, historical markings and community creations. Thanks to the optimized Daegor engine, you get smooth performance and great visuals even on modest rigs. Join over 70 million players worldwide today. For a limited time, new and returning players on PC and consoles who haven't played for at least 6 months can grab a massive bonus pack when you sign up using my links in the pinned comment or video description. The exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions and 7 days of premium account. Click the links, try War Thunder for free on PC, console and mobile now, and claim your bonus before it's gone. Now let's get back to the video. Let's address the elephant in the room. What is the most efficient way to play longsword in Monster Hunter Wilds? On paper, Spirit Helm Breaker plus Spirit Release Slash, the new follow-up added in Wilds, is the highest DPS combo at the moment. The total motion value of this combo, including the Spirit Thrust to initiate the Helm Breaker, is 420. The time to perform this attack is 6.53 seconds. The MVPS is a bit more than 65. If we compare it with the popular Crimson Slash First plus Spirit Blade First combo, it looks like there is a clear winner. 65 is higher than 56 after all. However, reality tells us something different. Why do speedrunners keep on spamming this combo if Helm Breaker and Spirit Release Slash have a higher DPS? Well, there are quite a few reasons. First of all, it is indeed true that the DPS of Helm Breaker plus Spirit Release Slash is higher, but you cannot perform this combo right after again, or in other words, you cannot spam it. As a matter of fact, this combo makes you drop to white gauge, meaning that you have to go back to red gauge in order to perform the same combo. This implies that after you land the Spirit Release Slash, your next attacks will inevitably have a lower DPS, making your average DPS dropping. On the other hand, Crimson Slash First and Spirit Blade First can be chained one after another for at least 45 seconds, which is the minimum duration of red gauge. Cancelling part of the second slash of Crimson Slash first into a Spirit Blade first is what makes this combo extremely good. Even after the gauge level expires, it is faster to go back to red gauge because you are already at yellow gauge. The second reason can be found in the different overall elemental and status modifier. Helm Breaker and Spirit Release Slash have respectively 0.2 and 0.1 elemental and status multipliers, which makes them completely unsuitable for dealing elemental damage or applying status, while Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first have respectively 0.7 times 2 and 1.0 elemental and status multipliers, which give them quite the edge on status and elemental damage. The third reason could be the consistency and precision of landing these combos. Helm Breaker's hitbox has always been wonky, and Spirit Release Slash scatters too much, making it difficult to focus the damage on a specific part. Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first instead can be aimed more easily, allowing to land them on the chosen monster's part more accurately. Another important aspect to consider is the animation commitment. Helm Breaker and Spirit Release Slash last for more than 6 seconds. You do have hyper armor on the last attack, which makes it safer to execute it, but you can still take damage and you are forced to sheath after performing it. On the other side, Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first are very fast attacks. You have several options after performing them. For example, it is much easier to evade a monster's attack, if you must commit so little. Even in terms of mobility, the Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first combo is superior. You can move around the monster while performing these attacks, while Helm Breaker and Spirit Release Slash are more limiting in this regard. Lastly, another important parameter is the Corrupted Mantle. Most of the speedruns where this mantle is used, you see the Crimson Slash first plus Spirit Blade first combo. This happens because the Corrupted Mantle deals an additional hit on the second hit of the Crimson Slash first, increasing its DPS. The mantle unfortunately doesn't give any additional hit to neither the Helm Breaker nor the Spirit Release Slash. The only benefits of using the Helm Breaker plus Spirit Release Slash combo are the low sharpness consumption and the positive part break modifiers. Sure enough, this combo consumes less than 2 points of sharpness, which is extremely low given the DPS they deal. Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first consume together 2 points of sharpness already, which makes you consume the sharpness more than 4 times faster compared to Helm Breaker and Spirit Release Slash. The part break modifier are also in favor of the Spirit Release Slash. This move has a 1.5 modifier on the first 3 groups of motion values, and 3.0 on the last one. This makes breaking parts or cutting tails considerably easier. Monsters are more likely to flinch at the end of a Spirit Release Slash because of these part break modifiers. The sad reality, however, is that these two advantages are often negligible when it comes to speedrunning. Generally, you don't care much about destroying parts or cutting tails in these scenarios, and sharpness consumption, although being relevant for regular hunts, it takes a back seat when speedruns last a short time. That's why when it comes to speedrun, you see the Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first spam more often and very rarely the Helm Breaker plus Spirit Release Slash combo. But then, why are there still a few speedrunners who use Helm Breaker and Spirit Release Slash? As I said at the beginning, the situation is a bit more complicated. The real difference is made by a single aspect. How fast and efficiently can you go back to red gauge after a Spirit Release Slash? In other words, we need to check what's the best way to level up the gauge from white to red without lowering our DPS. There are 4 different ways to level up the gauge in Wilds: by landing a Spirit Round Slash, timing a Yes Spirit Slash, using a Focus Strike hitting a wound, and with a dismount attack from the Sacred. You can already exclude the first and the last one. Landing a Round Slash usually after a well-timed Foresight slash is very common, but it's not as efficient as landing a Yes Spirit Slash. The motion value and DPS is lower, although it is easier to execute, while the dismount attack from the Sacred is very niche and doesn't deal much damage. The 2 options worth considering are timing a Yes Spirit Slash and using a Focus Strike. They are both situationals, the former relies on the monster's AI, the latter on the wounds available to hit. In order to perform a Yes Spirit Slash, you have to prepare it first with a special sheath. Then you must wait until the monster is about to attack you, and then you can time the attack and level up the gauge. In the perfect scenario where every action is made frame perfect and you perform the Yes Spirit Slash as soon as possible, the duration of this whole combo is 2.1 seconds. The motion value in white is 91, while in yellow gauge is 117, so its motion value per second is around 43 in white and almost 56 in yellow gauge. In practice, however, the DPS is always lower. Usually we have to wait in special sheath until the monster attacks us, losing precious time and so DPS. Consider that if you wait half a second in the sheathing stance, your motion value per second already drops to 35 in white and 45 in yellow gauge. Regarding the Focus Strike, its motion value depends on the number of wounds destroyed. The last digit that appears next to the damage inflicted upon destroying the wound can vary depending on the number of wounds destroyed. Focus Strike on a single wound has a total motion value of 182, while on a weak spot it goes up to 202, and the animation lasts for 3.4 seconds, making the MVPS equal to 53.5 on a wound and more than 59 on a weak point. If you hit 2 wounds, the motion value goes up to 222, and don't forget the additional damage from destroying the wound. What's more, you gain 2 gauge levels instead of 1, jumping from white to red immediately. The more wounds you destroy with a Focus Strike, the higher the DPS. This is the best way to level up the gauge for Longsword, and the only one that allows you to keep the DPS high after performing a Spirit Release Slash. The obvious problem with this is that we rarely have 2 or more wounds available to destroy after a Spirit Release Slash. Very often you destroy the wounds with the Spirit Release Slash itself, or simply cannot create wounds with it. It is a very inconsistent way to level up the gauge, and that's why speedrunners who use this playstyle go for Spirit Slash if there is no wound available. Another important factor to consider when choosing between the two different playstyles is how difficult it is to target weak points. Some monsters can be easily attacked by spamming Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first even while they attack, but others can make it impossible to reach the weak points during certain attacks. In some cases, a well-timed Spirit Thrust can give you an opening for the Helm Breaker on a weak point, while Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first wouldn't be able to land so precisely in the same situation. Some monsters are constantly moving and attacking, making it difficult to land your combo on the weak points consistently. Monsters' behavior and positioning play a key role when deciding what's the most suitable combo to use. Let's see another example. What's better, following up a Foresight Whirl Slash with a Spirit Drum Slash plus spinning Crimson Slash, or with a Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first? On paper, Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first deal a bit more DPS, so they should be better. However, if you are wearing the Corrupted Mantle, both Round Slash and Spinning Crimson Slash get an additional hit, and their DPS matches the Crimson Slash plus Spirit Blade first combo. What's more, the first 3 times you perform either a Round Slash or Spinning Crimson Slash, you get respectively 20, 10 and 6% red spirit gauge, allowing you to prolong the duration of the red gauge level. In some specific situations, the Spinning Crimson Slash is also very useful to reposition or evade an incoming attack. So as you can see, it's not always just Spirit Blade first and Crimson Slash first spam. To wrap things up, Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first combo is in general the most efficient playstyle. The Corrupted Mantle increases the DPS of this combo, so you should opt for Crimson Slash first plus Spirit Blade first when wearing it. Helm Breaker plus Spirit Release Slash can be a valid alternative on monsters who move a lot and are harder to hit during certain attacks by using Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first. What's more, sharpness consumption is more than 4 times slower compared to the other combo, so it can be advantageous on longer hunts. Another good option is to use the Helm Breaker before the red gauge level expires, and instead of following up a Spirit Release Slash, do a Focus Strike to quickly go back to red gauge, especially when monsters reveal their weak points. Keep in mind that in general, the Helm Breaker plus Spirit Release Slash combo is more efficient in solo play, as you can manage the wounds more easily and so go back to red gauge with a Focus Strike. But also because the monster is focused on you, and it will be easier to level up the gauge with a Spirit Slash. In multiplayer, the Crimson Slash first and Spirit Blade first combo has the edge, but if you still want to play with the Helm Breaker, make sure to bring some small bar bombs and do some Spirit Slashes to level up the gauge faster after a Spirit Release Slash. And that's all from me today. If you enjoyed the video and found it interesting, please consider subscribing and let me know what you think about the Longsword gameplay in the comments section. Again, thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. War Thunder is free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox and mobile. Sign up using my links in the pinned comment or video description. New or returning players who haven't played in 6 months get a massive bonus pack with multiple premium vehicles, in-game currency and more for a limited time. I'll catch you again soon with a new video, so stay tuned. Have a good day, bye!